Hello, this is Rediscovering Connection, and I'm here today with Nicole Starbuck, a psychic empath and quantum healer that I was blessed to share a stage with back in the spring, the summertime, at a spiritual curiosity summit led by Mia Jarrett. And that was a beautiful opportunity to connect, to really learn about Nicole's work. So, welcome, Nicole. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you so much. Such an honor and a privilege to be here. Thank you for having me.
So, the theme rediscovering connection, like this journey that you've gone on, is not the traditional. It's not an accountant. It's not a doctor or a lawyer. It's something probably that you wouldn't have expected to go down. So, we won't go too far back, but I'd love to maybe explore when you really felt in your power to be going in this direction and to be sharing it publicly and reconnecting with some of your people and saying this is what I do, these are my talents, these are my gifts. how
Mm.
how did that feel?
Yeah, well, I love the word connection because that was one of my words for this year when I was connecting in with my guides. They said expansion, connection, community. So it's right up there in the top three for me. But without going too far back, to sum up in a nutshell, I first discovered my gifts when I was a kid, but I suppressed them my whole life. And it took me 20 years to fully step into and own my power. So in the 2019, I really felt this sense of there had to be more to life, but I was fairly isolated in my personal development, in my spiritual development, and I was seeking something with soul that would help me to re-access my gifts and abilities and bring them to the world in some way. And so this word soul brought me to, interestingly enough, a Facebook group called Visionary Soul, where I found a like-minded community of people who were on a spiritual journey, who were on a similar path of awakening into their gifts. And the hostess of that group was also facilitating a in-person retreat called Soul on Fire. It was set in Sedona, Arizona. If anyone hasn't been, highly, highly recommend it. The energy there is just incredible. So then I got to be in person with a community of like-minded women who were on the same journey as me of awakening their gifts and stepping into their power. And I had never been in anything like that. And I'm at that retreat, and the co-facilitator there says to me, "Oh, you're psychic." And I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh, how did you know?" But that was really the catalyst for me then fully owning my abilities, starting to offer professional psychic readings and healing sessions, which led to what I do now and empowering emerging empaths to do the same.
That's so beautiful. Because what I'm hearing is, and a lot of the work that I do in helping people to find their people, because when we are going on this spiritual awakening journey, sometimes we can hide that. Well, like you did as a child, we can hide that. And it's only by connecting with people and maybe dropping the odd word and just seeing if that lights them up in a way that you're like, oh, I can talk to you about this. Do you have any little techniques to know if they are your people that you can feel that you can talk openly with?
Part of it's a sense, and I've had this my whole life, but it's come online quite a bit in the past few years since reactivating my abilities, where it's almost like the person has an aura about them, where you can just tell, or spirit will say, "Ooh, this is a person," or "Oh, this is not a person." So you get that sense of discernment without it being a judgment call, right? Because the way that I look at it is the door is always open. There's always that invitation. You can ask me anything. I'm an open book. I'm not going to hide anything. But I'm also not necessarily going to push or force my beliefs and perspectives onto someone else. So I leave it very open-ended. But I agree with you too that it can also be even as subtle as the difference as whether or not we're using the word God or source or universe, which one they're using can give you a clue as to what their beliefs are and how open they are to some of these more esoteric or metaphysical practices.
Mm. And that was intriguing when you said you have a sign. And I'm starting to feel it. Like I'll feel an impulse to speak to someone. And then often like the impulse comes and I'm like, what am I going to say? Like if it's somebody that I don't know, but I just feel that I need to speak to them. So for me, I'm really feeling that all of these people that I feel these impulses about have a clue on my path. I would love to know if you've had those impulses and if any of those clues have led you to different places.
Oh, I love to play games with the universe. So Spirit will say, hey, it's time for you to join a group coaching program. I'm like, great. So if I'm supposed to do that, show me who. And then this is a true story. The next day, it reconnected me on Instagram to the co-facilitator from the retreat from many years before, where she was opening up a group coaching container. So that was the sign. So I said, great. If that's really the sign, show it to me again in 24 hours. So then it shows it in my feed again the next day. So then I know, okay, this is the sign. So I got connected to that container. That led to some really beautiful introductions to some other women, one of whom is now my like soul sister. We do retreats together and it's fantastic. The little things as simple as I got the intuitive nudge one day to start running Facebook ads, and I don't know the first thing about Facebook ads. So I said, great, if this is the path that I meant to do to connect in with my soulmate tribe and grow my community, then show me who's supposed to do that for me, because I'm not going to go do it. And the next day, it shows me an ad for a beautiful soul that runs Facebook ads. And so I didn't even ask her about her ads. I just followed her, but she checked out my profile. She liked my vibe. She started a conversation. Next thing you know, we're doing an energetic exchange. She comes to my retreat and then she does the ads for me for a month. So we were able to collaborate. So
Amazing.
just funny stories
Amazing.
like that happen left and right all the time, just about every week.
Yes. And I love that you're bringing in it like technology because a lot of there's a lot of anti-technology talk out there and social media hasn't necessarily been great for society overall. But these examples you're leaning in, it's like how the universe and technology is like merging.
Yeah, I think it really depends too on what resonates with you because my default setting, I can be adaptable, right? I can be outgoing and talk and do public speaking whenever I like, but my default setting is actually very introverted. So I'm a
Mm,
homebody. I love to incubate, hibernate, integrate. I could be holed up in my office all day, every day. I don't feel the need or desire to go out and talk to people. But technology has been very helpful in that I can,
mm.
have my online presence. I can connect in and find new clients online. I can do Zoom sessions. I can lead whole online retreats without ever stepping foot outside the house. So it just depends. Some people love the in-person element. I know, for example, my husband has to get outside of the house every day and talk to people face to face. It just depends on what resonates with you.
Yeah, but then the dynamic of in person. So let's delve into like one of the retreats that you've run and how these really help individuals to find their people and then one leads to another and these opportunities unfold once you start putting yourself out there into these spaces.
Oh, yes. So I will say that in-person events and retreats have an energy all their own. It's almost like a different atmosphere and ozone when you step into a house or a conference center. That's a really beautiful energy that really you have to experience. I can try and explain it to you, but one has to step into a container like that. But I'm thinking specifically of a retreat that I had back in June, and I've had another one since then, but I'm thinking of this one in June where I got to invite one of the gals that I had met from that group coaching program. She came in as a guest speaker, ran a really beautiful, life-changing, impactful workshop on opening up our creative power And also, one of the women there was literally praying for a community of women that she could connect to. And the only reason that she ended up in that space is that out of nowhere, I got the call from Spirit to post my retreat in a group that I had never posted in. Spirit just said, "Hey, share it in this group." And I'm thinking, why would I do that? They like, I've never posted in there. They're like, no, just do it. And she literally, at that same moment, right after I posted, got the call to check Facebook. And she's thinking, I never check Facebook. Why would I do that? But she goes on Facebook. First thing she sees is my retreat. And she had literally just been praying for a community of women. So it was a
Mm,
no-brainer for her. She signed up, she was there, and then now has made lifelong friends. We're all friends from that
mm,
retreat. So one thing leads to another. You can see how months ago I felt the call to step into group coaching. That's where I met Patty, that then came to my retreat, led a workshop where then we met Patricia, who was the one praying for the like-minded women.
mm.
And that was also the retreat where I did the energetic exchange for the Facebook ad. So you can see how the universe was pulling in people from all corners of the globe for that.
Now, I'd love to go into the quantum. So, it's quite a few people have come on to my radar this year, like Dr. Joe Dispenza, um, many others. And I'm really delving into the quantum and how we tap into this in our own lives. I wonder if you could delve a little bit into how you work with clients to help them to really navigate this paradigm shift in their thinking.
Yeah, I like to think of the quantum as the realm of everything that ever was, is, and will be. It's endless possibilities. And so often, when we're dealing with the details of our particular situation, we can get so hyper focused on what's happening in the here and now, we're losing sight of what's actually possible or what's actually meant for us, the highest timeline, if you will. And so, in a lot of these exercises and experiences that we do, whether it's one-on-one, group, or in person, we really take a zoom out approach of not just where you are now, but also where you'd like to be. And then what's the slow moving energy or resistance as to why that's not already your reality. Trace that back to a root cause. We can get to childhood, past life, ancestral stuff. But in working with the quantum field, we actually almost like remote viewing or astral projection in a guided meditation practice, we zoom out and we can see time for what it actually is, not just this linear construct of A, then B, then C, but actually A, B, C, all the way through Z is possible at any given time. And it's just a matter of focusing in on which of these possibilities, because in this realm, anything is possible, which of these possibilities actually lights your soul on fire, resonates with you the most. And then let's calibrate our system, reprogram, shift, align, whatever we need to do there to be a vibrational match for that. And then we're going to magnetize that to us. So let's say somebody who wants to call in, a very common one is, oh, I want 10K months or a six-figure business. Great. Actually, it's not the money, it's the energy of being the vibrational match for the people that are going to bring in that currency with them, right? And so then we align with that. And we get to work in this possibilities. And when we look at it from that perspective, we see, oh, actually, this thing that I was worrying about, like updating my brand colors, that's where I see a lot of people get stuck. Like, I'm going to update my brand. Well, actually, that doesn't matter what you do with your brand. What matters is how you're showing up and calling in and attracting the people that are going to help you align your business. So
Oh my
that's
God,
what I work with
I
right now.
hear you. I don't know how much time I spent on my marketing message, like ridiculous. So many iterations. And it's like, it doesn't matter. It's all the same message. I'm saying the same message, but just, yeah, we get so stuck on the minute detail. So going into a brand new year, what could people do to really start that right and stop micro thinking and really start thinking about their highest potential and how they can be calling that in 2024?
Oh, I love this question. I was just teaching on this in the new moon ritual and then the group call for our Mystic membership. But this season that we're in right now, as of the recording, is really about zooming out and looking at the bigger picture of how things are working out for our greatest good and highest potential. And as we're ending this year, really taking a look at what are our core values, what is our soul's mission and life purpose, how are we being called to show up and serve, and letting go and releasing, or as I called it, purging anything that's not a vibrational match for that. So that when we step into the new year, we're really coming in with this clear channel for connection, really stepping in with total clarity and confidence that there's not this other noise or chaos and distractions that's taking us away from what it is we're actually meant to be doing here in 2024.
Mm.
And then with that, really stepping away from what I call wounded masculine approach of like resolutions and goal settings, but more so setting an intention. Is if you're getting this call and this is how you know you're being called to step up and show up and serve, setting the intention of, yes, this is my heart's desire. And also, I'm open to this or something better. But if I miss a day or I miss a week or I miss a month, it's not that I failed or I missed the mark, but I know that there's so much love and grace and compassion for me to pick that back up and continue as I feel called to do so.
Beautiful. When you were saying that, I was seeing, I've been getting these like big sheets of paper recently. My kids just love drawing, their prolific drawers. And I don't get a look in. I'm just imagining for myself getting one of these huge pieces of paper and like breaking it down to the months and then like always putting visuals into what have been the highlights of each month of this year for me. And they're really feeling into that and then seeing how I can then call in more of that for 2024.
Mm. But that feels really yummy. And I love the perspective on that too, because I'm thinking I did it. I didn't do a big piece of paper, but I did a similar practice where I looked back on my calendar to see what I was up to in that lens, because we can get discouraged in a way and we think, oh, I didn't do as much as I wanted, or I didn't accomplish so much, or what did I even do with this whole year? Or we focus on all the negative things that happened in our world or in our life. But then we go back and actually look at the evidence of, oh, actually, I created three brand new programs and a completely new container. And also I had however many interviews and I met however many people and hosted
Mm,
however many retreats. And that's just an example from me. But if you were to look back and actually see, when I look at my calendar, but actually see what you've done and what you've created, it's probably a lot more than you're giving yourself credit for.
yes. Yes. And I know for me, like I've created the program that I myself needed to do. And I remember back in January when I started delivering my program and my workshops. In my workshop template, one of the pieces was I need to give people um the vision of where they could be. And I was saying where they could be, but in reality, I wasn't yet there.
Mm.
And I almost felt like a fraud. Well, I did feel like a fraud. I delivered one and I said that and I felt icky. And then I came away and I was like, why do I feel so bad? And it's like I've said that this is where you could be, but I've I've basically said that I'm there and I'm not. And I feel so proud that I have now done the work that
Mm.
I teach, and I am literally there now. I'm there now. And I've got a workshop later on today, and I can literally say, and I can say, this is where you might be, and this is where you could be if we do this work to connect and really find our people, bring them in. So, Yeah, for me, I think that's a really big one. And I don't know how I would possibly put that as a picture on my calendar, but that's a big personal shift. And yeah, I don't know about you, but do you have any experience of developing a program that you yourself need to take? It's like source is telling you to write the program, and it's like, okay, now I need to do the program, and then you can teach it.
Yeah, well, I think for psychic school, that was the program I wish I had when I was 9 years
Yes.
old coming into my gifts. And then with the mastermind that I'm leading, it was the same thing. It was downloaded to me by my guides, and I wasn't there yet, right? Teaching six-figure business. I've gotten close, but haven't quite hit that mark. And I thought, well, who am I to teach that? But it's like, no, you get to do it together. You get to take that journey together. And it's not always about the money, but about what the money represents, which is energy. And as far as energy, you're there. I thought, okay. So
Mm,
I get to co-create. How I framed this particular container was a co-creation, that we were building this together. So that's been a
mm.
bit really beautiful container. And actually later after this call, later today, we have our group call for that. So I'm excited about that.
I love that. And I've got my first mastermind launching in January, which is really exciting because I've just finished reading Think and Grow Rich.
Beautiful
And
book. Yeah.
I already had the idea of bringing this circle together. Mine's based on reciprocity. So all sharing and helping each other to belong and rise. And yeah, and then reading towards the end of that book, and then it was bringing in the concept of masterminds and the power that they bring when we all do support each other, and recognizing that we have our gifts and everyone else has their gifts too. And if we are willing to see and hear and recognize each other's gifts, how much we can all strengthen each other's lives, businesses. We can't do this single-handedly. It's impossible. And so I'm really leaning into the idea of reciprocity right
Mm.
now.
Mm, I love that. I'm really excited for you too. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow.
Something I would love to know is how much capacity you have for different communities in your life. Because we've all had, if we go back in our history, we've all been part of different communities, but we don't have endless capacity for lots of different containers at any one time. So personally, I'm trying to find my sweet spot of how many communities I can belong to and also really serve, give enough energy to. Have you had much experience of kind of playing with this in your life, and maybe at times feeling like I'm spreading myself too thinly? I need to bring it back and know that these communities might be a big part of my life again down the road. But right now, I really need to conserve my energy to give enough.
Mm. I think for me, it depends on, am I a participant in a community, or am I facilitating and hosting a community? That makes a difference for me. And then also the format of the community. Is it weekly? Is it bi-weekly? Is it self-study with like a Facebook group on the side? Because I'm thinking of these two avenues, me as a participant and then me as a facilitator. When I'm a participant, if I'm in one container, I'm all in on that container. If I add two or three, and at one point I had four, I notice how I'm not fully engaged, or I'm not completing the study and material to be
Yes.
actively contributing. So I actually took a step back and started dropping out. Dropping out sounds like a strong word, but stepping out, stepping out of containers that I felt like I wasn't called, like I wasn't contributing in the way that
Right.
I needed to contribute. And actually, I just stepped out of my last container, so I'm going to take a break as a participant for a while. I'm in my winter of creation right now, so I'm taking a step back from a lot of things. So I took a step back from that. And then as far as hosting community, again, depends on the format and the context. But I like to host one group. That's the free container that I do. I like to host one group program where there is some sort of curriculum that we're going through together. And then one mastermind where we are collectively co-creating something. It's not just me teaching. So one free space, one teaching space, one co-collaborative space. I also
Mhm.
have my membership in there too, but that's the sweet spot for me at least.
Beautiful. Oh, that's so good. Thank you so much for sharing. I think that's a really valuable piece of inner work that you've done to recognize those layers for yourself and what works with your energy, leaving enough space for one-to-one clients, for podcasting, for all the other little elements of life that helps you to be that not just a psychic empath, but someone that's actually having impact,
Yeah,
wider impact.
that's true. I love how you just said that. Not just a psychic empath, but having an impact. That's exactly it.
Hmm. So what is your big dream? What is your big dream for maybe for next year? For next
Oh,
year.
I was like, this is so big, the big dream. Well, my big dream is to normalize psychic intuition to where we could have these kinds of conversations in coffee shops and not have it be weird or woo-woo. Some of the common terms that get thrown out there in reference to people such as myself. But for next year, I've already gotten my words. So I've mentioned that my words for this year, 2023, were expansion, connection, community. My words for next year, 2024, are family, finances, and fun. So it's
Mm.
actually taking that vision. So much of this year has been about building myself and building my business. But then what I'm being called to step into in this next year is like focusing more in the home and in the family and the internal family systems and focusing there and then seeing what other ripple effect happens from that space.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love this. And when you say about normalizing, and you mentioned Sedona earlier, I wonder what other places you visited where it does feel more normalized.
Yeah. Yeah. I know I lived in Denver for 8 years. Denver's pretty open-minded, and then outside of Denver is a place called Boulder that's pretty open spiritually. And then here where I live now in Houston, Texas, there are some pockets within Houston where you sense that the energy is a little more open. And then in Texas as a whole, I know Austin is a pretty open-minded space as far as spirituality goes. But you start to get a sense, if not in your own neighborhood in your own city, there's places at least within driving distance that people can go if they're looking for the in-person connection.
Mm. I've so felt it here. And I don't know if you visited Vancouver Island yet.
Not yet, no.
So yeah, and this is where Mia is also living. And ever since I got here, I'm like, this has a vibe. And I didn't know what it was for a while, but it is a very spiritual vibe. And it's almost like you can have these conversations with everybody.
Mm.
It's wild and very welcome. I didn't know that was what I was signing up for when I moved here.
And it brings up an interesting point. Like sometimes we're drawn to these places, and I am confident there must be ley lines in these different cities that we're naming. We're called to these places so that we can be fed and feed into a community of like-minded people, but also we can be planted in spaces where maybe that's not already there because we're meant to start that. I feel like that's
Mhm.
why I've been planted here in Houston because it's not a particularly open-minded place when it comes to some of these other practices, but I think that I'm here to help open up the door for those kind of conversations.
Wow. No pressure.
No pressure. And it's not all on me. I'm finding my tribe left and right. Like I happened to go for a massage. I started getting massage therapy again, and then the practitioner was very, very much one of my soulmate tribe members. So never know. It can just appear like that.
Mm. And do you have any ways when you do connect in like your masseuse, when you connect with someone, do you have any ways to keep connected with them? Or maybe that is just the regular practice that you go on. Um, but I'm just thinking for any listeners out there that they feel that connection with someone, and then it's like they could very easily just say goodbye. It's like, how do we make the next move to say, hey, there's an event coming up. I wonder if you might like to join me, or are you on Instagram or something to keep them close?
Mm. Again, I think it goes back to what resonates with you. If you're a person that loves the in-person events, great. If there's none event coming up, like coffee is a good one. I've done that before. But I'm also the person that's like, hey, what's your Instagram so I can support you on that and see what you're up to.
Yes,
And also I like to just kind of keep a mental Rolodex of what people specialize in because I'm huge on affiliate and referrals where if I can't personally help someone, I know a ton of other people that can. Like, I'm not a massage
beautiful,
therapist, but let me refer you out. I can do Akashic records, but it's not my specialty. So let me refer you out. And oh, that's another one. One of my friends, she's a tantric practitioner. That's not a specialty of mine either. So let me refer you out. So I love to be able to share and
beautiful.
connect in that way too.
I love that. Nicole, is there anything that you feel called to share as we wrap up this beautiful moment in time and space together? All moments have led to this very one
Mm.
point in both of our lives.
I'm thinking of connection as three parts. There's the connection to self, all aspects of self, mind, body, soul, and emotions. Connections to your guides, God, source, universe, divine, whatever you like to call that higher power. And then connection to the community or the world at large. So, in feeling into connection and community, it's not just about self, it's not just about connecting with your guides or connecting with community, but actually encompassing all three in unison together for a very holistic approach to life.
I love that so much. And that's such a beautiful idea. If you are feeling lonely or disconnected, which of those three is lacking in your life? She might be like, but I've got a great connection with source. I don't understand why I'm getting this feeling. It's like, yes, but have you got enough people physically or digitally in your lives? Or are you actually connecting in with yourself?
Yeah. Mm.
Nicole, thank you so much for being with us. I'm super excited to continue our connection, our journey together, and I really hope to get together in person in 2024 and join you on one of your retreats, or maybe collaborate and do something together, or maybe Mia's retreat in Sedona. So let's hope our paths do cross in 2024, but I wish you well going into the new year.
Thank you so much and take care.